Chris, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me, guys. I've been looking forward to it. I got to see a few of the others you guys have done. I was pretty excited when you guys asked me.
Yeah, Chris Hollywood Eubanks is the name. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. So, but Chris, tell everybody. I mean, we spoke actually. We got connected through Will. Will Wright, a good friend of mine, connected me with you, and we actually never. Actually, this is the first time we've spoken face to face. I know we spoke on the phone a fair bit, but it happened really fast. So tennis. But what I really liked about you is that you were engaged from the start, and you actually helped get other players coming in from. You got a lot of players you spoke to on the female side as well. So just give us a little bit of background about your upbringing from tennis. We'll start from the start. You're a Georgia native, right?
Yeah.
So tell us about your journey from a junior and then getting to Georgia Tech. That'll be a really nice start for us. If you can tell us about that.
So I started off playing tennis when I was around 2. I had an older brother who was already heavily involved in the sport. When I came along, it's just an easy way to get me out the house. So I go out, I'm in a carrier and a stroller, and then all of a sudden I'm starting to run around. My dad goes, "Okay, we're going to put a racket in his hands since he has so much energy," and it kind of went from there. As far back as I can remember, I've always been playing tennis. I don't remember a time in which I chose tennis. I don't remember a time in which I wasn't playing tennis. It was just as far back as I can remember. It's going to the courts with my dad. My brother would sometimes be there. I had an older cousin who played college tennis at Michigan State. So everyone was pretty heavily involved in my tennis. And then as I began to progress to the junior ranks, I think at around, I was pretty good in my age division up until 10 or 11, and around 13, my dad started to put me in local 18s tournaments. It's either you play the national events at 14 and then go to the 16s and you're traveling all over the country, or it's you can stay 30, 40 minutes away, play tournaments with local guys who are getting ready to go to college at 18 and get the same, if not better level of matches and hopefully development. So that was the route that my dad took. For one, it probably saved us a whole lot of money because every weekend I could play a local tournament and get beat first or second round and, kind of take my lickings. And then as I got older, I think I started to kind of come into my own at around 15 when I began to train with Donald Young and his parents pretty consistently. So I would in high school at this time, I would go from high school to their tennis facility after school. I would teach the after school program, and in exchange, Donald's dad would give me 2 lessons a week. In the days in between, I would get to practice with Donald anytime that he was in town. So it was a pretty good trade-off.
Nice.
And from that, we started to practice more and more. And that's when I really started to see my development shoot up. I think at about 17 or 16, I finaled our local sectional tournament. And then went to Kalamazoo, 3rd round, and won like 7 rounds in the back draw. I think a quarterfinal double. So I had some results that year. And then after that, I was actually, after the Southern tournament, I committed to Georgia Tech. They felt as though the coach Kenny Thorne really felt as though he had a plan on how to develop my game and said, "Listen, if you want to play pro tennis, these are the things that we're going to need to do. You might take some lumps at first, but just stay with it." I bought into the plan, and then after my freshman year, where I took a pretty good amount of lumps, sophomore and junior year, I think I had the biggest jump of my career. I went from 7-11 at number 1. I lost literally more matches than I won, and then the next year I went 16-2. Next year I think I went like 17-2 or something like that. So there was a huge jump between freshman and sophomore year, but it was just all about kind of.
Wait a second. You played number 1 freshman year for Georgia Tech?
Yeah, I started off my first 7 matches. I played 2. And I didn't lose any at 2, and then the coach made the switch, put me at 1, and boy, that was the difference. I took a fair amount of losses. I won 7, but the thing is, while playing at 1, all you need to do is get a couple of the right wins in order to get yourself into the NCAA tournament. So I lost 11. I mean, I was just boom. But the thing is, I lost a lot of matches in 3 sets, so it started to weigh on me. I'm like, I know I'm close, but what am I not doing to be able to get there? Get a few wins. And then I squeaked into the NCAA tournament. Won my first round against Nathan Pasha, of all people.
Hey!
against good old Nate of all people. And then I lost to Yannick Hanfman second round.
No way.
No.
Yeah, lost to Yannick. Yannick gave me an absolute lesson. Oh my goodness. I think it was the only time since I can remember that I had a big, I think he got me 2-0. I had no business being on that court. We played in Baylor. My ideal conditions, very hot, very bouncy. I played Nate on a very hot and bouncy day. I loved it. The next day, I think it was like 60 degrees, cold, no sun, and Yannick was just striking the ball so clean. I was like, I don't know what you want me to do. I have no answer for Yannick today. And what's even funnier about that is I think 3 years later, I played Yannick first round of French Qs. So this was 2018. It was almost the exact same date in which we had played 4 years before. And I just remembered it because it was second round of the NCAA tournament going on. So I'm during French Qs, I'm like checking the results. I'm like, who's winning? Because I knew a lot of the guys still in it.
Yeah.
And Yannick beat me in French Qs. It was like a 4-5 or something. It was a lot closer than NCAA, that's for sure. And after the match, I was like, you realize that we played like 4 years ago, like pretty much today in Baylor. He was like, oh man, NCAA is going on. So it was a funny, funny the way that things kind of like worked out that way.
Wow, that's a crazy story. I mean, I know you just sort of flipped over. Again, every player does that. Everyone when he just go, yeah, I played juniors, and all of a sudden I was here, and we're like, hang on, wait, that was because playing. Were you expected to play at the top of the lineup for Georgia Tech as a freshman? That's
I thought I had a good chance, but I mean, you don't know. I mean, going in from juniors, I went from taking a lot of losses from like 13 to 15 to 16, so not really knowing how good I am. So then putting together a pretty good summer, and then all of a sudden kind of stopped playing tournaments after that because my dad says, you don't need to spend the more money. You got your scholarship. Like, well, what do we need to go play Kalamazoo again for? Yeah. And so I didn't really know. It was a good amount of time in which I wasn't playing tournaments, so I didn't know what to expect. I was just training. So I said, I want to come in. Obviously, I would love to play high, but I'm not banking on it. And then I think my freshman year, I think I won a tournament that we hosted, singles and doubles. My doubles partner, Michael K. And then I put together a couple like decent wins in the falls and first match of the year. I have no idea what I'm going to play. The coach goes, okay, Nathan Rackett playing 1, Eubanks you're playing 2. So I was like, okay, so 2. I'm okay with that. Like that's a pretty good start. And I started putting together wins there. And then after that, he moved me to 1. I never played anything else.
So did you finish your career? Did you graduate?
3 years. 3 years. Yeah, I have another year left. I decided to go pro in that fall of 2017, which would have been the fall of my senior year.
And I guess one day you will eventually go and finish. You want to finish?
100%. I know a lot of people give me a lot of crap because they're saying, man, you could just go and, Tech doesn't have any of the classes that I need aren't offered online right now.
Okay.
So a lot of my friends are saying, just get it somewhere else and transfer it over. I was like, yeah, but I kind of like want to get it at Tech. I started there. That's where I want to finish it.
A big program.
I want to be able to get the piece of paper that says Georgia Institute of Technology. Like that's kind of, especially being from Atlanta. It's like, I don't want to get a degree just to get the sake of a degree.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Nice.
That's a cool story. So did you ever, just quickly before we move on from that, was there ever another option to go to a different college before you committed? Did you think about another program outside of Georgia, or did you think about going pro?
No chance. I knew there was no chance in the world I was going to pro. I had 17, 0 chance. I did not have it. Was not good enough. That would have been a bad choice. In terms of other schools, not that many other schools recruited me. Granted, I also committed very early in the recruiting process, but there were a handful of schools that reached out and showed any type of serious interest. Ironically enough, Ohio State was one, and I was shocked because I said, what in the world does Ohio State want with me? I mean, their coach was watching, their assistant coach, Justin Kronagi, was watching some of my matches in our local sectional tournament. And for one, I was like, what in the world is Ohio State doing in Mobile, Alabama? 2, I was like, are they actually interested in me? And we reached out. We talked a little bit. But for the most part, not that many schools reached out. I actually reached out to schools beforehand. Before that summer even started, I reached out to express, I would be interested in playing. My ranking wasn't where I felt like it should be, but that's because I had spent the previous year and a half traveling with Donald Young to the French Open, Wimbledon, trying to explain that, I've been able to had a different path, a different level of training, traveling all over the world, seeing the best players in the world up close and personal. So I wasn't playing a lot of tournaments from 15 to 16. It was just a lot of training. So I was trying to explain that. Some coaches were receptive, some weren't. But at the end of the day, I think I if I could change it all, I wouldn't do anything differently. I'd go right back to the same school, play for the exact same coach.
And travel around the world with Donald then before you spent some summers here in Europe playing and just like hitting partner? Is that what?
Yeah, just as a hitting partner. So I think in 2012, he took me to the French. He took me to there was a tour event in San Jose at the beginning of the year. He took me there. He took me to Casablanca for a 250, then Monte Carlo for the Masters. Then in May, he took me to Rome, Madrid, Nice, and Paris for the French. So I got to go all over the world. I got to practice on some of the best courts in the world. And my first experience of really getting out and traveling, because I never played any ITFs. I played 2 ITFs in my career, and they both were in Atlanta. So this is my first time like really getting out and seeing, and it was such an eye-opening experience. I was like, man, like this is what pro tennis is, but also this is what it takes to be a pro. Like it's different when you're practicing with Donald at home, and you think you can hang with, and you get out there and you're seeing the people that he's practicing with and how they're being professional with their stretching, cool down, and strength and conditioning, and all this other stuff. And I go, okay, what I'm doing really ain't even close to being a pro right now.
But I find your story really interesting because, it seems like you took a lot of emphasis and from an early age, almost away from the winning part of things, and said, right, we're going to learn really tough life lessons on court, and then we'll develop that way. Right. Speaking from myself and my experience, a lot of emphasis was always put on winning, whether that's from your coach, cheers Rod, or other teammates of yours. But I could not ever imagine playing an 18-year-old event at 13.
Yeah. So the thing is, it's like my dad always had the mindset of like, it doesn't really matter in the 12, 13, and 14. Like it doesn't. It doesn't. For me especially, and I think part of the reason was because I was a fairly tall kid. I was never the tallest kid in my age group, but I was always like top 2 or 3. Mm-hmm. So my dad's 6'3", my mom's 5'7". You could see at an early age, okay, he's going to be kind of tall. So instead of putting the emphasis on doing whatever I need to do and winning at 14, they said, all right, we need to develop him to be first strike tennis. My dad would be on the court. If I let a ball hit the service line, he's like yelling, like, go get it, go get it. And I would go up, I would take cuts, I would miss it. And I'm like, but I'm missing. He goes, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And then that ended up transitioning to practicing with Donald a lot too. And a lot of people always kind of turn their heads because they go, you and Donald have such different game styles. But I think it worked really well in practice because a lot of the guys that he would play were very good at first strike because of how heavy he would hit, his direction moving guys side to side. If he ever left a ball short, the pros took advantage of it and they stepped up and they tried to crunch it. For me, I wasn't going to win any points trying to run side to side with him. Like I was going to win none. It wasn't going to go well, especially at 15 and 16. So anytime he left a ball short, I had to be aware and I had to see it and jump on it as quick as possible and just jump up there to take cuts in order to try to give him realistic practice. Because if I sit back there and I'm just trying to roll balls, he's going to run me side to side. He's going to have fun, but it's probably not going to be as not going to be as good of a practice as what he's going to get when he's on tour. So I had to say, okay, if I want to win points in these like practice games, like if he leaves the ball any type of short, I have to get very comfortable stepping in, taking my backhand on the rise because otherwise it's going to be above my shoulder. I have to get very comfortable running around, trying to crank a forehand as quickly as I can in order to try to take the advantage of the point. So our contrasting styles like kind of worked. Yeah. And certain levels of our game, I don't feel like, even though we're totally different like builds, I think certain levels of our game, like people look at it, they don't really see it, are a lot more similar to people think. I think we both love trying to find our forehand. We're both looking to try to get into the net as much as we can. So it's not that much different. Yeah, if you look at it, you're like, okay, you got a guy 6'7" right here, lanky, and then you have Donald strong as an ox. Like, how are their practices going to actually be, going up and high over guys I'm going through? Yeah. But I think for practicing, it really worked well. So I think having my dad at a young age kind of having a strong emphasis on jumping on the short balls and you take cuts and you don't worry about what happens right now. Just jump on it, swing out, don't worry about it. Like, if I won a match in the 14th and I had to push to win, my dad wasn't the happiest. He was just like, that's not what we're working on.
Yeah.
Like, you need to get comfortable stepping up, crunching. If you lose, you lose. I do not care.
Yeah.
Then after I got with Donald, I said, okay, I see what this means now.
So at what point did it all click for you? Was that sophomore year, or was it before college? Or, I mean,
I think I began to put things together that summer before, I think my summer after my junior year of high school. I put together match after match, but I had also just come from traveling with Donald. So my perception on every time I traveled with him, my perception on tennis when I came back was totally different. I would travel with him and I would see him practicing with Evo. I would see him practicing with, who are some of the other guys? Robin Hasse. I would see him playing matches against Troitsky in Madrid. I would see him playing Simone in Rome. So when I would see it and I'm sitting right there up close, I go, guys, I'm playing really not that good. Like, why am I struggling? Like, and granted, it's not to say that I think I'm as good as them, but the practicing with them every single day and then getting out there and I'm practicing with guys my age, I'm like, this is totally different. Like, what? So my perception, I came back, I was always like, more focused like the moment I came back. And I think I came back from a trip with him. And then that summer I took off. So that was like the first like sign of progression. But then in college, like I said, I don't want to say I regress, but it's just different. You're going into college, you're playing guys, you know, some of them are 18, you're playing 21, 22-year-olds. Some guys have points, you know, so it was a lot different. But like I said, I think the really big jump happened between my freshman and sophomore year, because then it wasn't, the matches that I lost my freshman year in 3, I was winning in 3. And then my junior year, I was winning those in straights. Yeah. So there was a trend that was kind of happening and moving in the right direction. I think probably between my freshman and sophomore year were the biggest jumps I've ever had in my career. Wow. And then after my sophomore year, my coach sat me down and he goes, you know, well, I just want to warn you, like, you know, you've had some huge jumps between high school and freshman year to sophomore year. The jumps, don't get discouraged if the jumps aren't as exponential as they were. So if you jump this much between here and then you jump this much again, you still can move forward, but the jumps might be a little bit less. It's just tough to make those drastic jumps continuously. And then I had a really good junior year, and then he was like, but I don't know just keep doing what we're doing. So
that's exactly what I want to talk. So, okay, you finished junior year. What was your highest ranking in college before we move on to the pro?
4 singles. 4 in singles, and I think like 14 in doubles.
Okay, so you're playing top end. So then junior year, you decided to go pro.
Right.
So did you start off with a ranking after you left the junior year? Or
yeah. So what happened? I think I got my first points in a future in Tulsa, Oklahoma, after my sophomore year of college. So I got my first point there. Maybe got another point. I don't really remember. And then the next year, I didn't play any futures during the season. The next year, after NCAAs, I pretty much told my teammates before my junior year. My entire goal was to win NCAAs because I wanted a wild card into the Open. I told my teammates, I was like, listen, guys, if I win NCAAs this year, I'm not coming back. Like, I'm just telling you right now. They were like, go win it. They were super supportive of it. I get to the quarters, I lose to Ty Kwiatkowski in 3. We have a battle in Athens, actually, on UGA's courts. I wanted to win it so bad on UGA's courts, you have no idea. And I actually wanted to win so bad I started cramping, and I was never a cramper in my life. I wanted to win that match so bad. My legs in the 3rd, I just started locking up. I wanted it too bad, honestly.
Yeah.
And Ty ended up going on to win it, so it made me feel a little bit better. I was like, you know, he went 3 with me. I think his other match was pretty straight, so I was there. I almost had it. But so I leave Athens. I go, well, I'm coming back for my senior year. I get, I think I enter a future in Winston-Salem. I don't remember if I get a wild card or if I get in on my ranking. And I win it, and I play Kevin King in the final. And we actually played doubles together, and we lost in the final.
Okay.
So the first week there, like in Winston-Salem, and they had 2 back-to-back. So Kevin and I are staying with each other the entire time too. We're sharing a hotel room, going to the courts every day. Like we're literally like this. So
he's a Georgia Tech boy too, right?
He was a Tech. He was actually my volunteer assistant my sophomore and like a good portion of my junior year, because he was coming back from hip surgery. Okay. So I play him in the final of 25K. I win it 7-6 in the 3rd. which was pretty good. It's just a good feeling. But it was also that little bit of awkwardness simply because we're literally going back to the hotel together afterwards. So it's just kind of like, yes, but it's also like, let me just kind of stay calm. So we final doubles, I win singles. The next week it starts like the next day. I think we play the final on Sunday. My first match is until Tuesday. We play in the semis this week. I beat him 7-6 in the third again. We win doubles. And I lose to Tommy Paul the next round in the final. And that was actually Tommy when he like started his like surge back.
Yeah, okay.
Got me in the final that went to Winston-Salem 25K, because then he went on to like quarter Atlanta. I think he like quartered DC. Like it was all that summer. He was playing some unbelievable ball. Okay. And even when I played him, I said, there's nothing I can do with him today. He's just too good. I could have played some of the bigger points better, but Tommy was too locked in. I was like, bravo. So in the 2-week span, I went win of 25 and final of 25. After that, my ranking started getting up a little bit more. I think I was probably around 700 at the time, maybe in the 6s. I don't remember. And then I get a wild card into Winnetka. I lose to Matthias Backinger.
Okay.
I get a wild card into Newport 250 qualies. I lose to Kumar Ramanathan. And then, so I'm kind of like, okay, well, it was good. Those futures were nice. Now I'm kind of struggling a little bit. And then I get a wild card into the Atlanta 250. And then I quarter. I beat Taylor Fritz, Jared Donaldson, which gave me a lot of points at one time. I think 45 points. And when you're like 700, 800, 45 points will shoot you into a totally different, lack of a better word, tax bracket. I was like, man, I went from like 800 to like 400. I was like, man, what is this? It's not that bad, Then I get absolutely crushed by Harrison. And then, but because of my summer, I got a wild card into the qualities of Cincinnati, which is one of the biggest. It's one of the biggest tournaments, especially to get a qualities card into Cincinnati was huge. And I beat Bjorn Fratangelo and then Janko Tipsarevic. And at that point, I was kind of thinking the U.S. Open might be on the table. I don't know, but I might get a card into the Open. Not 100%, but I wasn't thinking too much about it. I lose first round to Ramanathan again, which hurt. I was supposed to play Monfils. He pulled out before the match. Ramanathan gets in like a loser, beats me on center court. Still a tough one. Still a tough one to take. But even after the match, I was like, you know what? It's been a good summer. Probably prepping to go back to school. Like, everything's good. And then they announced the wild cards 2 days later. They give me a wild card into the U.S. Open. At that point in my head, I'm like, I think this is why I wanted to win NCAA. It's like I wanted to win it to be able to get that card into the Open. Took the card into the Open, got absolutely crushed by Duty Sela, but still felt like it was a good time and a good decision to go pro. I talked it over with my college coach. He was supportive of my decision. He just really wanted me to make the decision not in New York when everyone's all over you, telling you how great you are, when agents are trying to talk to you, telling you, we want to sit down, we want to sign you. He said, wait till you get home, wait till things calm down, and then make the decision. I got back home, thought it over, chose to go pro, and then has been playing pro ever since.
Wow. That's a great story. That's a great recap of what you've done so far, man. And so where's your ranking right now as currently sitting here?
Nah, you know what, man? It sucks because I was about 215 when the pandemic, right after my last tournament was Monterey. I was about 215, and they slowly started cutting tournaments. Like Indian Wells was canceled, but for the next like 3 weeks, or a couple of weeks, there were still like challengers going on.
Yeah.
So the rankings were still technically live. So I think after they canceled Indian Wells, Miami, and they announced the tour was suspended, I didn't even think to check my ranking. I was like, I'm still at 215, And I check it one day and it's at 238, and I go, whoa, hold on, like what happened? And I realized guys were still playing tournaments and everything, and so my ranking took a 15 spots or whatever, but it was still more than that, 25 spots. But I was still kind of just like, man, at 215 and 238, like in terms of Grand Slam qualities, in terms of trying to figure out if you'll have to play again, like that's a bit of a jump. But right now I'm sitting at, I think, about 238. What do you do? This is what it is. It's not nothing I can do to change it, except maybe win a few of those matches early in the year that I lost, but it's all good.
No, it's a great story. So when and that's for people who don't understand, I have been this discussion with a couple of players right now. That barrier of being in the Grand Slam qualifying is a big one, right? So that's like 220, right? Is the sort of the
so 220 is the guarantee. After they start having initial cuts, French is usually the toughest. So French will sometimes drop to maybe 230, 231. Australia Wimbledon can sometimes drop to 240. US Open will sometimes drop to 240. So like technically by previous year standards, I would be in Grand Slam qualies, but if they have the full draw, I think French is having a smaller draw. US Open isn't having qualities at all, so it kind of can work against you a little bit. So it's just whenever the tour resumes and we're able to get back out there for challengers, I think you just gotta make the most of those opportunities, get out there and try to hurry up and get some of it back.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting because when working with the players, everyone always thinks about top 100 when you're a young kid. You go, I want to be top 100. But actually, when you break it down, there's those levels. And one of the first levels is to try and get your ranking below around 220, 230 so you can play qualifying. And then from there, the next jump is, not many guys go from like nothing to top 100. They make that first breakthrough to top 230. They can play qualities. Again, when you quali, anything can happen, right? When you can go through qualities.
100%.
So that's so you're right there at that ranking point. So you're not playing US Open because obviously there's no qualies. You're playing. So you're playing dubs.
Playing doubles with Mackie McDonald.
Yeah, he's your roommate down in Orlando.
Yeah. We shared his house together.
Okay, and you guys are you're training with the USTA. So what's your coaching setup right now? You're training at the USTA, or you have an individual coach?
Yeah, training at the USTA. I work a lot with Brian Baker and Troy Hahn, and then in terms of traveling with me, one of my best friends who was also a college teammate at Tech with me, Philip Gress, he moved to Orlando as well, so that I can have someone who's solely there, always, wherever I go, always they're dedicated to making sure, I'm doing the right things, we're getting the work in, and, whose pretty much sole purpose is kind of help me be as good as I can be. So he came down from New Jersey, where he was coaching for a year, came down here, and we've been getting after it. So he kind of works under Brian and Troy, gets the messages, make sure that the messages are being disseminated to me correctly, and I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. And it's been a pretty good setup so far.
It's nice. And because after Exo Tennis, and we're gonna lay claim to that, you went and played Exhibition Atlanta.
I went to play the Exhibition Atlanta and racked up a couple wins.
I was texting you like, whoa, wait. So tell us about those two. They were big. I mean, not big wins, but yeah, you kind of. I mean, were they one of the highest ranked? At least, I mean, for Exo Tennis, it was good because of a big crowd. So tell us about those two matches you won.
So I got subbed in after Francis unfortunately tested positive for COVID-19, and first match is against Sangren. So I know everyone knows what you're going to get with Sang. You're going to get a war. He's going to go out there and sweat and bleed and do whatever he has to do to win. And I went out there and I played well. I remember we warmed up before the match, and he goes, "Have you been playing a lot?" I was like, "I've been playing a good bit." He was like, "Okay, so it's going to be a tough match. All right, that's all I need to know." So we come out there, and I've always played really well in Atlanta. The conditions fit me. Slight altitude, very hot though. Ball moves fast, and I was just locked in. I was playing pretty well, and then on the final day, I think our team was down. They did it similar to a Labor Cup style. So like the first day, every match counts as one. Next day, they count as two. Last day, they count as three. So the third day was supposed to be Francis and John, the two captains, and I get subbed in for Francis. And starts off with Kevin, who gets another sub in for Riley, and he beats Query. So I think we needed to win 3 of the 4 matches that day in order to send it into overtime.
Yeah.
And so we get up there. Kevin starts off, he loses the first set against Sam. He comes back and wins it in a 10-point breaker. So I'm like, okay, so now it's up to me. Like, I got to try to keep the team in it, like just keep our head above water. And I go out there and I play really well, serve really, really well. John and I had some really good exchanges, and somehow I was able to get them. It was funny, right before the 10-point breaker, I looked at him across the net and I go, this is a deciding match against Georgia Tech right here, 10-point breaker to see who comes away with it at all. And he just kind of laughed and he said, let's get after it. So I get him in the breaker. I'm like, okay. At this point, honestly, going into the day, I don't know how optimistic I was. I was like, all right, Kevin has to win. I got to beat John. That's going to be a task and a half. Yeah. And then we need Fritz or Tommy to both win. Like, this is going to be a tough day. So when Kevin got the win, the pressure just fell right on my shoulders. I was like, oh, God, okay. Let's just go out here and hold serve and then see what happens after, because I'm not about to control anything on his. So we go out there. I pull it out. Fritz then goes up and pulls it out. And then it comes down to Tommy. So at this point, we're like, if Tommy wins, like we win outright. Tommy loses to Stevie. And then, but because the point totals are tied exactly, they have to play 1 7-point breaker to determine whose team wins.
Yeah.
Tommy comes up clutch, wins the 7-point breaker. Our team wins. Team, I don't even remember if we were Team Stars or Stripes. I don't remember. But our team ended up pulling out the win, and we got through it. So it was a fun time, man. Anytime you can get team atmospheres in tennis is awesome.
Yeah, that's
sure.
Really nice. We did one event here. It changes the atmosphere. And I mean, when I saw the results, I was texting Ollie, and I was texting you, Kevin, as well. And I was like, remember I said to you, hey, man, that was a preparation for Exo Tennis.
Most definitely.
But listen, I know you got practicing a little bit, so I want to finish on one thing. We started at the start with Chris Hollywood Eubanks. So we want to know what you were out there, because you just told us, oh, I'm going to be in California. You didn't say that you were going to be hanging out with some Hollywood stars. So please enlighten everybody, because that stuff with Jamie Foxx was.
So it's funny. So I met a guy during off season in Boca when I did Patrick Muratagu's off season camp. I met a guy named Alex Alond, who is really good friends with Mike Tyson, but we got into a conversation, and he told me he used to train in voluntary. He tried to play a little bit. I think maybe got a point, maybe, but he loves tennis. Mm-hmm. So we just kind of, exchange pleasantries, keep it moving. And then always kept in contact afterwards. And he said, hey, man, if you ever come to LA, like, let me know. Like, we have a mutual friend, a guy named Errol Smith. So he goes, I would love to, we could get on court with Errol. Like, we could have a good time. Just let me know whenever you come out there. And he told me, he goes, when we met, we were just kind of talking about LA. And he goes, yeah, Jamie Foxx is one of my best friends. I was like, really? Like, it sounded like a subtle name drop. That's like a big deal, especially for me. So if you talk to any of my best friends, they'll tell you, like, Jamie Foxx has been one of my favorite guys for a long time. Like, I've gone back and seen some of his first stand-ups in Living Color. Like, like old Jamie Foxx. Jamie Foxx.
The man's a legend.
I was like, so I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay. I didn't really think that much of it. I was just like, okay, Jamie Foxx. I didn't think they were like that tight, So then I'm talking to Alex. I'm saying, I've been training pretty much 4 days a week since April. I haven't had, and I don't know what I'm training for besides Exo Tennis and the Atlanta Exo. So I'm like, I really don't know what else there's on the horizon, but we've been training pretty hard as if, like, I'm getting ready to play a 3 out of 5 tomorrow. I was like, I need, at some point, I'm going to need a break. At some point, I'm going to need to take some time. I said, I think I might do it in September. I'm not sure. I'll let you know. So once the USA announced who the US Open wildcard recipients were going to be, I said, okay, it's going to be really tough for me to really be able to dig in and train, knowing that I won't be playing singles in the Open. Like, I need to kind of get away for a little bit. They announced it on Thursday. I called Alex Thursday at like 12. I called Alex at like 3. I was like, listen, I think I'm coming to LA tomorrow. He said, listen, if you want to come to LA tomorrow, come on. I got a place for you to stay. I'll put you up. You don't have to worry about a thing while you're here.
Yeah.
I looked at Philip, but I was like, let's go. I said, let's bring the stakes. We're still going to get some hitting in, but I just kind of want to get away and just kind of have fun. Just take a step back from tennis for a little bit, just because we've been going so hard. So we pack our bags. Literally, we leave the next day. We land in LA. We're standing in Woodland Hills. Alex is saying, I talked to Jamie. He wants to get on the court with you. A little backstory behind that was Jamie did an interview probably like 3 months ago in which he highlighted that his dad taught him tennis at a young age, so that he's well-rounded in all sports.
Unreal. I couldn't believe that. Yeah.
Yeah. So when he said that, I text Alex. I said, yo, I'm going to send him a couple sticks. If he wants to get back out there, I was like, you guys can get out there and play. Alex said, that'd be great, because he's always trying to steal my racket. So if you give him some, then he has some of his own. So I said, yeah, I'm going to send it to it. I send me your address. I send him the sticks. I think a couple of days later, Alex FaceTimes me. He's with Fox on the boat. And Jamie's like, yo, man, thanks for the rackets. I can't wait to get out here. Whenever you decide to come out, we're going to get on the court. I was like, perfect, let's do it. So Alex gets the phone back. He goes, yeah, he said he wants to bring his film crew out as well so he can post it to his YouTube channel. I was like, that's money. Like, let's do it 100%. Like, let's do it. So we get in LA. We're trying to find, I think me and Philip are in Venice at the time. And we're trying to find a time. We're staying in Woodland Hills, but we had taken a trip to Venice to see another one of our friends who plays pro. And Alex texts me saying, hey, Fox wants to play at 6 today. And we were supposed to do the day before, but he couldn't do it. And the day before that, so it was kind of, we didn't know when it was going to happen. He just texted me. I checked my phone. He says, Fox is 6. I go, Philip, we got to go. Let's go. Like, it was like 4 o'clock. So I was like, we got to leave at like 5:15. So we get to the house. We pull up. Some soft top Rolls Royce sitting right in front of the driveway. Wasn't what I was driving. Wasn't what Alex was driving. So I looked at Philip. I was like, I think he's here. Get out the car. He comes out the house. He looks at us. He goes, y'all sure y'all not NBA players? And then he comes in. He daps us up. We get on the ping pong table. We just play ping pong for 30 minutes. The guy loves playing ping pong. And then he goes, all right, man, let's go. I want to play. I want to play some tennis. So we go to the country club around the corner. He gets out there, and the first thing he starts doing is name drop. I mean, you about to see a little Illy Nastasi, some Ivan Lendl, a little Michael Chang soft serve. I was like, oh, you know about the Michael Chang soft serve? He's like, man, that's soft serve ice cream. Of course I know. So we start going. We get on court, and I'm really surprised in terms of hitting from the ground. He can hit the ball. He can put the ball in the court. Like, yeah. It's not like he's like whiffing. Like, he hits the ball. I hit a couple to his backhand. He, makes it in the court. I'm like, okay, so he can actually go a little bit. So we're hitting from the ground. I'm running them side to side. I'm drop shot, lob. But he's running them down. He's getting them back. And then Alex goes, hey, man, why don't you go ahead and serve to him? So I was like, all right. So I take a couple, just shoulder, rollovers. And I'm like, okay. And he starts standing 7-8 feet back behind the baseline. I go up and I pop one, and he touches it. And I go, oh, no, hold on. So I start gearing up again. And then I just start clocking, started getting harder and harder and harder. And then he's standing pretty much back at the fence. I go, no, why don't you come up a little bit? So he stands inside the baseline. I hit him with a 130 probably right in the hip, and he starts losing his footing, and he falls flat on the ground. Then he goes to the side. He takes out his bulletproof vest and his motorcycle helmet. He goes, okay, now let's go. So then we serve a few more. He's taking some cuts. They're getting it on video. It was great. But then even after that, we were just talking. He came over to the house later, and we played Papa Shot. We played basketball, played more ping pong. He came over at 10, 11. We probably stayed up to 2 o'clock just talking.
Wow.
He's telling story after story after story. We're just talking. And then he really took a liking to us. So then we ended up going to his house another day. We went out to dinner with him another day. And it was the best trip I've ever taken, straight up. I'm comparing that to qualifying into Australia 2 times. I'm like, this trip was unbelievable. The guy's exactly who you think he is in terms of what you see on the interviews. You see the clown, you see the storytelling, the charisma, that's just him. That was straight up him. Never met the guy in my life, but it felt like he was just so warm, so welcoming. One of the nicest people I've ever met, bar none.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. That is
awesome.
I mean, and I didn't, the thing is, I saw that interview with the Graham Norton show.
Yeah.
Talked about that, and it's gone everywhere. And I couldn't believe that and his dad wanted to play tennis growing up, and it was such a strange thing. And his story about taking his dad to the US Open to watch. So
yeah,
it made sense that he's got an affinity with tennis. But yeah, I mean, it was funny to watch again, we're not going to go into detail what you talked about, but I can imagine that was pretty inspiring to chat.
There was some good conversations. There was some meaningful conversations. I obviously, I'm not going to divulge a lot of it, but there was some good conversations that, for one, left us in tears, and 2, left us in no way, what? So there was some jaw-dropping stuff that we talked about, but no, it was a great time.
Oh man, well, we appreciate you sharing that. I mean, hopefully you got some clips. We'll put it up there. I saw it.
Yeah, I think he's gonna hopefully put it on his YouTube soon. So when that happens, I'll be sure to send you guys over the links, and we can get a laugh at it. I'm interested to see how he edits it, because there were a couple times he made some clean contact. And I was like, oh, okay, hold on now. Like a blind squirrel will find a nut every now and then. Like, come on now. Don't play that one over and over again. Change angles to make it look like he was just out there rallying. Come on.
Oh, that's good.
I mean, speaking from an editor perspective, I would definitely be doing that if it was me. So
yeah, I know. So that's why I'm kind of like, come on, let's be real. Let's be real now. Let's not get too crazy.
Ollie's the king of editing. Yeah, that's good for banter. Well, Chris, man, listen, I know you got practice. We appreciate you coming on here and sharing the story. I don't know when it will be out, but really good. Wish you good luck for the rest of your career, and I hope, I don't know if there's more events, and when travel's allowed again, I'm definitely coming to Atlanta, come hang out with you guys. And
sounds good. Atlanta, we'll do it in Atlanta.
Atlanta, yeah. Atlanta's a bit dead, but yeah, Atlanta, man. I appreciate it.
Good luck with the US Open.
Yeah, good luck,
guys. I appreciate it.
Kill it.
Thank you. Looking forward to it.
Watching.
Yeah.
For sure.
Stay in touch, bro.
All right. Take care, guys.
Take it easy.